oozing with confidence again when it comes to signing Dominic Szoboszlai. The deal was advanced. There's a thought that it could complete very, very soon. Around £60 million is the outlay, which is a big commitment. Talk to me about this guy.
Oh God, this whole signing came out of nowhere. It's just such a typical Liverpool thing. Like, we're sat here talking about all the other midfielders, and just out of nowhere, this whole thing happens. Even if you're really watching the Liverpool circles or the Liverpool transfer rumors, the news, you're looking at people talking about, Kefren Turam, Manu Kone, Gabri Vega, people like that. And just out of nowhere, this whole Szoboszlai thing just happens. Like, literally, if you see just before these last 24 hours, people have been talking about Szoboszlai as in, like, he's a player I take type thing. But no one ever said, like, he's coming to Liverpool. It wasn't even transfer rumor. No ITK even brought it up. Like, it wasn't even a thing. And we just wake up today, yesterday night, and suddenly it's become a thing. Like, Szoboszlai is coming to Liverpool. When I did one of the Liverpool shows earlier on this summer with Tom Little, who's also a member of this channel, and I said, like, Szoboszlai would actually be in my ideal midfield three. My ideal midfield three was McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Ugarte. Obviously, Ugarte is gone.
I want to see evidence.
Actually, I have video proof. I have video proof. And Ugarte is gone now, because I thought we needed the DM. But with Szoboszlai, he's essentially exactly what's needed on that right-hand side. Exactly what's needed on that right-hand side. He's got the physical attributes. He's got the pace. He's got the power. He's got the creativity. And he's going to add something that we've been missing for such a long time. We haven't had a goal-scoring midfielder since Steven Gerrard. That's just the God honest truth. Since he left Liverpool Football Club, we've not had a single goal-scoring midfielder, a guy that can put the ball in the back of the net from midfield, sometimes uplifting some of that pressure and removing some of that pressure from the front three. So it's just too much pressure on the front three, and a midfielder like that who can chime in with goals, with assists, is 100% needed. And it means I am one step away now from essentially never having to see Henderson play for my football club again. I'm not going to scapegoat the guy or anything. I'm going to say thank you, or the Liverpool captain, all of that nice stuff. I'm going to give him a hug in the typical club way. But now he moves out to the team. People mentioning Coutinho in the comments. Guys, Coutinho played probably 70% of the time on the left wing. Let's also remember where he played. He played more like a left wing. He wasn't really a midfielder like that. Not like an 8, I'm saying a goal scoring 8. So that's something that changes for us. He gives us creativity. So it's a very, 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 very good signing. I read somewhere as well that City were interested in him. I believe Newcastle were looking at him as well. So he's someone who's definitely looked at properly around Europe. And 60 million ain't that much anymore. 60 million is the equivalent of 10 years ago of 20 mil. That's just the reality. 10 years ago, 20 mil is today 60. That's just the unfortunate truth.
Absolutely. And the fact he's got a buyout clause makes it, I know the buyout clause runs out today, but a lot of the reports have suggested unless Liverpool gets stupid and go 30, they're going to compromise on that slightly. But £60 million for a player as talented as him, I'm not going to sit here and lie and pretend like I've watched him play 1,000 times. I haven't. But what you read, what I have seen, go and read scouting. The great thing is about this deal, if you read scouting reports that are only a week old, they're not written by sort of biased Liverpool journalists, people trying to big this deal up. People are quite honest and open about it. And there's a lot of good things to be said about him. And, that's him and McAllister, if of course, as and when it completes. But McAllister and him added to that midfield, youthful exuberance, energy, quality on the ball. It's got the ability to be really transformative for Liverpool. Still think they need more areas to be covered. I think we get the feeling that Trent will move more regularly into a midfield role. Whether he does that as the hybrid from right back, or whether they start him in midfield in the same way that Gareth Southgate did for England a couple of weeks ago, still remains to be seen. But you're very, very good business. And it isn't just great that you've got a player of that quality. You've stopped Newcastle getting him. And I think there's always an added, such a few United fans yesterday about Mason Mount. Look, people can disagree as to whether or not it's a good deal for us or not. But most Liverpool fans believed he would have been dynamite for Jurgen Klopp. And at the very least, we've stopped that from happening. We've stopped Jurgen Klopp getting a massive target for his club. And there's something to be said about
Thank God.
Well, yeah, from your point of view, thank God, absolutely. But of course, this was your second choice in that more attacking midfield role, and I think that it's good for you that you've stopped Newcastle strengthening their team at the same time as getting a player very high up on your list, if that makes sense. So I think it's really,
And you know
really
what it is? It's funny you mentioned Newcastle. Here's why I sometimes like discourse with football fans. Sometimes is like, oh, Szoboszlai obviously is gonna go to the Champions League club. He wants Champions League football. Just because a club has Champions League football does not automatically make them more attractive than other clubs. Like, with all due respect, let's assume for the sake of argument, Man City finished fifth this year. Somehow, some sort of miracle happened. They finished fifth. They would still be probably the most attractive club for any player to go to in the Premier League. From Liverpool's perspective, our problem has been the same. Finances. Our problem is we haven't spent enough. We haven't spent a lot. We haven't, we haven't really, how can I say, like, we haven't spent when we were at the top as well. So that's something that has set us back. But from our perspective, we know we have the pull. We know we can attract players over other clubs in the Prem. Our only problem is we just don't put the money on the table. But that does not mean that you don't have pull. I still believe to this very second. I think currently, I'm not delusional. I think City are the most attractive club for any player to go to in the Premier League. I'd put us second because there's so many things that go into a player being attracted to a football club. It's not necessarily just, oh my God, who has Champions League? If that was the case, then all the Champions League clubs would just strengthen and all the other teams would get weaker. When it comes to that whole situation, like, you've got the attraction of playing under Jurgen Klopp. You've got playing alongside other world-class players. So come play next to Salah, play next to Van Dijk, play next to Alisson, play next to Trent, play next to these guys. So all of these things, they matter. I think when it comes to the Premier League, I'd still say probably Liverpool are the second most attractive club to go to if you were a football player. Us putting down the money is a separate argument because I still think we could pull these world stars, but could we put the money on the table is the real problem with our football club.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's been the problem with FSG for a long time. You built a team that for 18 months to 2 years was better than Man City's team. Yes, they beat you to that first title race you were in with them, but you were the momentum and trajectory you took forward into the next season. You won the Champions League that same year, I think, as well. You were better than them. The next year, you battered them to the league title, but instead of doing what Arsenal have done this summer in terms of going out again. You may not agree with the profile of the player or the individuals, but their manager does. They've gone out and gone bang 200 million to improve again. City, they've just won the treble, but they've gone and got Kovacic. They've tried to get Declan Rice. They're going to drop around 100 million on Guardiola. This is exactly what Liverpool and FSG should have been doing. Like this 60 million pounds that you're spending on this guy. Yes, you got McAllister cheaper because of the buyout clause. That is the level of quality and or above that you should have been signing since 2018, 2019, 2020. You should have continued to add to your squad in that way. Move players like Milner's, like Henderson's that are past their best on sooner. That kind of over loyalty or cutting corners and scrimping and scraping on the pennies. Oh, look, we can get another year out of Henderson rather than buying someone better than Henderson for £80 million. That's the reason City have won 5 Prems in 7 years. And in that same period, you only have 1. And I think if Liverpool would have invested properly, if FSG would have backed Klopp correctly, I still think City may have won a few more than you, but the score wouldn't be 5-1.
Yeah, I think it was a minimum had one more. Minimum had one more.
It might have been, it might have been 2-4 as an example. But you even think about how close you came to winning those 2 other Champions Leagues. You might have one more of them. You definitely have, if you invested more, a few more domestic trophies. Then the era looks far more competitive between the two of you than it does. And that's why, look, as a Man United fan, you spent so much money and you won nothing. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed. You're the other end of the spectrum. You've won brilliant things, but you still probably haven't spent enough to double the amount of trophies or triple the amount of trophies that you've won. And, it isn't just about spending money, it's spending it wisely. But your club's got such a good proven record of buying quality. To not spend like a giant club consistently, it must be frustrating. So, yes, seeing this deal, taking your spend up to nearly 100 million for the summer so far, we're only in June. I think it's brilliant for Liverpool. I really do.
And I'll say this because you mentioned FSG. Here's my problem, because as you refer to it as always, communist Merseyside. The problem is it's not even communist Merseyside anymore. It's just communist Liverpool fans from wherever. Some are from Hull, for example. No need to mention names. So when it comes to this whole when it comes to this whole FSG conversation, you know what I find real funny, and this for me is the thing that's the most frustrating thing right now. People are already on Twitter and going stuff like, where's like the FSG out brigade now? Where are the people speaking up against FSG now? Just because of this whole Szoboszlai thing. I'm like, first of all, we're not even done for this summer. Szoboszlai and McAllister is not a good enough window. We need more. We need a center back. At least bare minimum, we need another center back. Right? So we shouldn't even be done this summer with just those two to begin with. I still am FSG out because it's about sustained success. It's about success at the top. It's not about you just get me to the top one time and then you dip and then you come tell me, oh, we signed Szoboszlai. Are you still FSG out? Of course I'm FSG out. Of course. That will only change if you give me 2 years of consistent spend, 3 years of consistent spend. You're showing me ambition. You're showing me that. Then that's when I will turn and I'll be like, okay, FSG, now you have my support. But as of today, you can't be like coming on here going like, oh my God, Szoboszlai has signed for Liverpool. Where are the FSG out brigade? I'm like, bro, that's not even enough for this summer to begin with. And before you even get to changing people's minds. So I think people are jumping the gun and going like, I've seen people going like Liverpool are back and all of this. No, we're not back. Everyone needs to chill step by step. Right now, if as soon as Szoboszlai is seen wearing that Liverpool shirt, the ultimate priority immediately becomes the center back. That's the ultimate priority for us now. And it's just like the absolute next step because we've got 4 injury-prone center backs, and we do not want to have the same situation that we had in 2020, 2021, where we were top of the league in January. But because we had no serious center backs and we had to play Fabinho and Henderson there and blah, 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 we ended up just absolutely collapsing. So we need a center back next. And it'll be great if we get another midfielder too. So we've got so much that still needs to be done just this window. And so you can't be asking already people to change their opinion based on one signing. With all due respect, it's not like they signed Mbappe or they signed like people are acting like we signed Mbappe or Messi or Prime Kaká or something like.
People do that. People live in 2023. People live in the exceptions rather than the rules. It's always the exception. Rather, spending 60 million on Szoboszlai is not the general rule for FSG. It's the exception. Therefore, it's not going to change anybody's minds.